My ex-fiancée ran away to marry the man of her dreams and broke up with me via text just a week before our wedding. 3 years later, she shows up wanting me back, but now I'm married to someone she knows. I, 29, male, am not the kind of guy to post my drama online, but the last few weeks have been a complete dumpster fire, and the ending was just too good not to share. 3 years ago, I was 26. I was engaged to my college girlfriend. Let's call her X. I was working 2 jobs to pay for the wedding she had to have. The custom ring, the 150-guest reception at a fancy venue, the whole deal, 6 days before the wedding. 6. I'm at my desk at work, and I get a text message. I can't do this. I'm suffocating. I met someone who actually gets my soul. He's the one. Don't come looking for me. I deserve magic, not mediocre. Just like that. Poof. I called her, went straight to voicemail. I drove to our apartment. Her closet was empty. The only thing she left were the lease in my name and a pile of her unpaid bills. Oh, and she took the $15,000 engagement ring I was still paying off. I later found out the soulmate was some trust fund visionary she met at a bachelorette party in Miami. They flew first class to Italy the same day she texted me. The fallout was a nightmare. I had to personally call 150 guests and tell them the wedding was off. I had to face my parents. I lost over $30,000 in non-refundable deposits. I was emotionally and financially wrecked. I spent the next year in a fog. I went to therapy. I hit the gym. A lot. And that's where I reconnected with someone. My ex's stepsister. You need to understand the dynamic here. My ex was a golden child. Her mom and stepdad, my wife's dad, treated her like a princess. My wife was a responsible, boring one they criticized constantly. My wife was the only person from that entire family who messaged me after ex left just to say, "I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve that." We started talking as friends. We bonded over the shared trauma of my ex's entitlement. We fell in love. It wasn't magic. It was real. It was quiet and stable and built on respect. We got married 6 months ago at the courthouse with just a few friends. We didn't tell her family, my former in-laws, because we knew it would be a circus. We just wanted to be happy and peaceful. And we were, until last Tuesday. The doorbell rings. I check the security camera. It's her, my ex. She looks rough. The designer clothes are gone. She's got a rolling suitcase. I opened the main door, but kept the locked screen door between us. She tried a wobbly smile. "Hi, I knew you'd be home. What do you want? Can I come in? I made a mistake. A huge mistake. He wasn't who I thought. He left me stranded in Italy. It took me a year to get back on my feet. Why are you here?" "Because I realized what we had was real," she said, stepping closer. "Real love is stability. It's you. You were always my rock. I'm ready to come home. I forgive you for being so boring back then. I see the value in it now. The audacity. She forgave me? You left me via text 6 days before our wedding," I said, my voice flat. "You stole a $15,000 ring. You left me in $30,000 of debt." "I was confused," she cried, and the tears came right on cue. "I was scared, but I've grown. I'm here now. I want to resume our life." She actually reached for the screen door handle, expecting me to just let her in. "There is no us," I said. "Leave." Her tone snapped. "Don't be like this. I know you're still single. My mom told me. I know you're still hurting. Let me fix it." Right then, another car pulled into the driveway. My wife. Ex turned. "Who is that?" My wife got out, holding her briefcase. She saw her stepsister on our porch and just froze. Ex's face went from confused to recognition to pure nasty spite. "What is she doing here? Did you hire a maid? Or are you sleeping with the help now?" My wife just ignored her, walked up to the door, and stood next to me. I unlocked the screen, let her in, and locked it right back in Ex's face. My wife looked at her stepsister, then at me, and said loud enough for X to hear, "Honey, why is your ex-fiancée screaming on our porch?" My ex stared at the simple, elegant wedding band on my wife's finger. Her jaw dropped. "Honey," she whispered. Then she screamed. "You married her? You replaced me with the ugly duckling. I told her to get off my property before I called the cops." She started ranting. "You did this just to hurt me. This is sick. You married my stepsister. That's practically incest. My wife just said, 'We aren't related and we're happy. We knew you'd throw a fit, which is why we didn't invite your side of the family.'" This is MY House. X shrieked. "I picked the paint colors for the living room. I want my life back." "You left," I said. "You don't have a life here. Leave. Now." Her whole face changed. The fake tears dried up, and she just looked cold. She picked up her suitcase. "Okay, fine. You want to play? You think you can humiliate me by marrying her? You have no idea what's coming." She got in an Uber that had been waiting down the street and left. My wife leaned against the counter. "She's going straight to my parents. This is going to be a nightmare." She was right. Within 2 hours, our phones were exploding. Her mom, X's mom, left a dozen voicemails screaming that my wife was a snake and a husband stealer. They accused me of grooming my wife while I was still engaged to X. Then came the social media assault. X posted a crying video on TikTok. No names, but it was obvious. She spun this story about how she had to flee an abusive and controlling relationship with me 3 years ago. And when she finally got the courage to come back and make amends, she found her abuser had manipulated her mentally fragile stepsister into a sham marriage just to keep a connection to her. It went viral locally. I was getting messages from people calling me a monster. But she didn't stop there. This is where she crossed the line. I get to work the next day. My boss calls me into his office. "We received an anonymous email this morning," he said. "It claims you're embezzling company funds. It says your ex has proof and is filing a police report." She was trying to get me fired. I was shaking with rage. I had started putting a receipts folder together the night she showed up. I handed it to my boss. "That's my ex-fiancée. Here's the text where she dumped me. Here are the bank statements showing she drained our joint account of $4,000 before she left. And here's a text she sent me yesterday." The text read, "Dump the ugly bitch and give me $50,000 for my emotional distress, or I tell your VP you're using the company car for personal trips." A complete lie. My boss was horrified. "You're fine here," he said, "but you need to get this handled. Legally." I raced home. My wife was at the kitchen table, just sobbing. X had gone to her office, stood in the lobby and screamed at the top of her lungs that my wife was a homewrecker and had stolen her husband. Security had to physically drag her out. My wife's boss, being an old school guy, put her on administrative leave to let the drama die down. That was it. She didn't want me. She just couldn't stand that I was happy, especially with someone she bullied her whole life. My life was supposed to be on pause, waiting for her to return. "We're done playing defense." I said, "We're hiring a lawyer. We are going to burn her to the ground." My wife wiped her eyes and her face was pure steel. "Do it. Burn it all." We called our lawyer. I told him everything. He was practically salivating. He said this was a defamation per se slam dunk, accusing us of crimes and damaging our professions, plus conversion for the ring, plus intentional infliction of emotional distress. We set the trap. I unblocked X's number and sent one text. "We need to talk. The legal threats are getting out of hand. Meet us at the Mediation Center on 4th Street tomorrow at 2 p.m. If you want a settlement, this is where we discuss it." She replied instantly, "I knew you'd come to your senses. I'll be there. Alone. Don't bring her." The next day, my wife, our lawyer, and I were in the conference room at 1:30 p.m. We hired a stenographer and had a camera set up. We also hired 2 off-duty cops to wait in the hall as security. X walked in at 2:05 p.m., looking smug. She was wearing a white dress. When she saw my wife, her face soured. I said, "Come alone. This is a legal meeting about your harassment of my wife and me." I said, "Sit down." "I'm not signing anything," she snapped. "I'll drop the harassment," she used air quotes, "if you agree to my terms. You leave her, and I get the house." It was supposed to be mine. I picked the tile. Our lawyer just smiled. You abandoned the house, the lease, and the relationship. You have no claim. I was under duress. He was controlling me. Were you under duress when you flew first class to Rome? I asked, sliding the flight manifest across the table. Or when you used the secondary credit card you stole from my wallet to buy $4,000 worth of designer bags in your first week. We have the statements. She went pale. That was compensation for the time I wasted on him. That's called theft and fraud, our lawyer said. We're here to discuss the defamation. You can't sue me, she laughed. I have no money. That jerk in Italy took it all. We know, I said, but your parents have money. And since your mom has been sending my wife threatening voicemails backing up your abuse story, and your parents are currently housing you while you commit these crimes, we're naming them as co-defendants for funding and encouraging your harassment. That hit her. The one thing she values is her parents' money. You leave my parents out of this. My wife stood up. No, you turned them against me. You made them disown me. You tried to get us fired. Now you get to lose something. We are suing you and them for the $30,000 wedding cost, the $15,000 ring you stole. We found the pawn shop receipt, by the way, and $500,000 in damages for defamation. X looked at the camera, then at the stenographer, finally realizing this wasn't chat. This was a trap. She panicked, and she blurted out the most insane lie. I'm pregnant. The room was dead silent. What? I asked. I'm pregnant. With your child. From before I left. I just stared at her. You left 3 years ago. That's not how biology works. No, she stammered. I mean, we slept together. Last week, when I came to the house. That's why your wife is so mad. I just looked at my lawyer. He was trying not to smile. I turned back to her. We have high-definition security footage of our entire 5-minute conversation on the porch. You never entered the house. My wife was present for half of it. You are lying on record in what is now a legal deposition. Her face crumpled. She had nothing. No lies left. So she went feral. She leaped across the table and went straight for my wife, claws out. You ruined my life. You ugly little leech. She didn't get within a foot. The security we hired was in the room in a second and grabbed her midair. They dragged her out of the conference room while she was screaming, He's mine. You can't have him. He's mine. The restraining order was granted immediately. The judge watched the video of her attack and signed it. 500 feet from us, our home and our jobs. We serve her parents. They were horrified, not at her behavior, but at the discovery. We found texts where she called them her ATMs and bragged to friends about faking the abuse story. They settled fast. They didn't want that getting out in a public trial. We got the $30,000 for the wedding. We got the $15,000 for the ring. And we got a very, very nice settlement for the defamation. But the best part wasn't the money. The best part was the term we put in the settlement. Her parents had to issue a public, signed retraction on social media, apologizing to my wife and me for their part in spreading the lies. It destroyed X's reputation. Her parents, finally seeing her as a liability, cut her off completely. Last I heard, she's a hostess at a chain restaurant 2 towns over. She tried to message me from a fake account, which violated the RO. She spent a weekend in jail. My wife got her job back with a huge apology from her boss. We used the settlement to pay off our house. We're renovating the spare room right now because we're expecting our first child in 5 months. My ex thought she was the main character in everyone's story. She found out she was just a villain. And in the real world, the villain gets consequences.